Hello and welcome. Today we'll be making a 6x5.5 Halloween card featuring products by Tim Holtz. This is the mini Bird Crazy and Things stamp set. We'll also be using My Mind's Eye paper, an on-the-edge die, some double-sided adhesive, some distress glitter, and all these materials will be listed below. I'm using Stays-On ink, applying it to cold press watercolor paper, pressing firmly, and stamping a sentiment from the Crazy Talk stamp set, also by Tim Holtz. And cleaning the stamp with Ultra Clean by Hero Arts. Now I'm prepping the surface of my paper with the EK Success powder tool because I'll be applying glitter and I don't want static having it cling where I don't want it. This is antique linen distress glitter and a Sakura glue pen. Applying dots to form a starry sky, allowing it to dry. And there we go. This is an opaque white marker, and this is the Distress Marker Spritzer. I'm shaking the marker, and I noticed that it has a felt tip to it. This Spritzer works with any marker that does have a felt tip. And the trick to this is to make sure that the tip of the marker is over the nozzle of the sprayer. I have a stencil that I cut out freehand from a piece of scrap acetate, masking the other portion of the paper, and applying a pumping action to the spritzer allows it to act as a small hand-powered airbrush. So now I'm creating clouds in my starlit sky. It's kind of a fun tool. Now to color our feathered friends and their accessories. I'm using watercolor pencils, starting with a dry-on-dry technique, and then I'll come in with a water brush pen. Rather than filling the pen, I've actually dipped it into water, because that gives me more control on such a small area. I've also decided to make a sidewalk, also of the watercolor paper, on which to place the birds in our little scene. I've sped this up considerably, but I will put on some music for you, rather than talking to you the whole time. I'll be right back. Although I had stamped Happy Halloween on the inside of my card, I decided it would also be fun to stamp Trick or Treat on the sidewalk, as if someone had written it there. I wanted the words to be one on top of the other rather than side by side as the stamp was arranged. But I didn't want to cut apart my rubber stamp. So, using sticky notes, I did selective masking. I used Hero Art's shadow ink and charcoal. Because the stamp was small, I didn't really even need an acrylic block. I simply held it in my hand. Time to give the big shot a workout with some die cutting. Here we go, using the dies for the birds. And we're going to use a circle die. This one is from Nestabilities. And double-sided tape, we'll make a moon out of that. And this is a wood grain pattern paper pad 6x6 by My Mind's Eye. This one looks good. We'll make a fence from this using the On the Edge die, called On the Fence, by Tim Holtz. And I decided I'm also going to cut out the broom from that so that it matches. Good looking picket fence. Creepy. There's the double-sided adhesive from which we'll make our moon. And there's the broom. See how I cut it out of the scrap? We don't waste anything. Removing the covering from one side of the circle that we've cut from the double-sided adhesive, I apply more of the antique linen distress glitter that we used on the stars. I apply the release paper back over it and then burnish it with my bone folder. This will increase both the shine and the adhesion. I add the glitter back into the pot and then clean up with a Swiffer dust cloth. It's time to put it all together. I use Scotch Quick Dry adhesive on the paper components. Of course, the moon won't need adhesive since it is double-sided adhesive. And I use Scotch foam tape on the backs of the birds. On the bird witch that's going over the moon, I will also use Ranger Multi-Medium in a matte finish on top of the adhesive tape because it can be a little tricky to put things on top of glitter. I also used the matte finish Multi-Medium to add a googly eye to her, just for fun. Once I add the trick-or-treaters to the sidewalk, I'll use a Prismacolor in dark brown to add some shadows beneath them. I've had a great bit of fun making this card. I hope you've had fun watching it and making it with me. And I hope that you'll come back and make another card with me. This is Lynn from Cards, Classic or Cute. And come back again and let's make a card.